Hey guys, welcome.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. I'm your regular host, Broman. Obviously, you guys know who I am. I have with me today someone new for you. This
That's
is
right.
Ryan. For those of you who don't know who he is a phenomenal artist, and he's
Mm.
got an excellent heart. I mean, when we're talking about people helping people out, this is the guy.
Thanks,
So,
bro. Thanks,
first,
bro.
first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn it over to him because he really knows what's going on around here and
Yeah.
and how to help you guys out with your problems. So here he is.
Hey, welcome once again to Don't Worry Wednesday. For all of you who don't know, I go down here. This is my brother, Broman. He goes by that name. No, his name is Kyle. So anyways, yeah, thanks for starting out the show. That was pretty great. Um, So, yeah, you know how this goes. All of you that have been here before. If you haven't been here before, don't worry. Wednesdays, basically, we just talk about whatever's on your mind that's bothering you, whatever your concerns are throughout the day or throughout your week, whether that be something that happened within your family, or maybe at school or at your workplace. Um, Maybe your dog died and you're having a hard time coping with it, or maybe you just can't get along with your coworker. Whatever it is, that's what we're here to talk about. We're obviously not a substitute for any professional advice given by a therapist or etc. But we do our best to help you as loving friends here on the journey with you. So cool. Yep. Everyone's saying hello to you.
Yeah, I
Uh,
appreciate it. Hello, guys
oh, geez. Is my
and
audio crazy?
gals.
It might be. Oh, well. All right, cool. I might have fixed my audio. I don't know. Hopefully that wasn't bad. Al, can you talk for me?
I can. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, you sound perfect. All right, cool.
Cool.
And we also have Jesse with us, of course. So, to start
Nice to
today
meet you
off,
too, Haley.
yeah, we actually do have Haley and Raka both with us. But by any chance, is Anna Ports here? We see that we have a question from you, and it's been a couple like weeks since you sent it, but I figured it's still worth getting to. If you are not here, that's all right. We can just move on to the next one. Nope. Okay. So I'm gonna go to Raka and Haley's. Um, so Raka and Haley, you guys are talking about not dying, um, or dying, and you have a lot of thoughts about that lately. So this was your question from, I don't know, was this a week or 2 weeks ago? I can't remember. I think it was only a week ago. But anyways, okay. So it was posted at Friday. All right. So there we are. Um, so Haley and Raka were talking. Haley was saying, I see. And Raka, you aren't allowed to die before me. I think about death way too much. A lot of times I think of potential ways I could die, not because I want not because I want to or anything. I also think about ways other people could die, not because I want them to. Um, Continuing on, although we were kind of forced on not dying, but yep. Okay, I don't know. I think that was a comment referring to another comment. But anyways, could we talk about ways to help this or just talk about this subject? Um, so yeah, it seems like you just want to talk about the subject of thinking about dying, whether you want to or not, and why that keeps on coming to your mind, and why that's playing an important role in your conversations and so on. I think that's what you're kind of aimed for there. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But yeah, I think that's kind of what your concern is. Even though you don't want people to die or you don't want to die yourself, you're just kind of like, why do I keep on thinking about death? Um, okay, and Bree, yes, we'll save your question for when you get back. Um, but yeah, so Kyle, what do you think about constantly thinking about death or that subject coming up a lot? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to think about death. I think it depends on how much, right? I mean, if we were just going to think about if we never thought about death, right, we'd be in a really bad place because we would have no reason to do anything ever. We just assume we are going to live forever. We can always get to it later, right?
Yeah.
Or if we're just, or maybe we're just reckless. If you don't care for your life, someone could get really hurt by not considering their own life, and then they wouldn't be able to do great things with their life because they're not even alive anymore. So there's a reason that we should be thinking about death. The other thing about death too is we need to have a healthy view of it too, right? It's not necessarily, death isn't necessarily bad. Death can be good. Death can be bad. It can be brutal. It can hurt. It can also be peaceful, and it can be a relief. It really depends on each situation. So there's a healthy amount of death we could think about, and how to handle it, especially if someone dies in your family. It's okay to think about that for a while and grieve, and things like that. But there's unhealthy obsession with death also. I mean, you see that some people are hyper focused on it always in a negative way. We want to watch out for that too. But I don't know. I don't quite understand exactly where this is on that spectrum based on the little information in the question. But I don't think it's necessarily unhealthy to think about it. I just think it's how we think about it that really makes a difference. So you could spend your whole life thinking about it and going into the depths. Kind of the question of life is a little bit about, or the question of death is from what's the purpose of life. If that helps you kind of drive you forward in figuring out your purpose, then that's good. And you could spend a whole lifetime kind of analyzing the relationship between life and death and how it works. But as far as worrying about death, if that's kind of where this is coming from, maybe you're worried about dying all the time. What could happen? Maybe somebody could run over me. If it's like an anxiety issue, and then, and on that side of things, I would think maybe we don't have control over everything in life, right? Sometimes things just happen. And there's a certain amount of things we can control and a certain amount of things we can't. And my philosophy has basically been, if I can't control it, I'm not going to try and worry about it a whole lot. But if it's stuck in here and it won't go away, that can be a problem for me, And so I know that, that's something that I can get stuck on an idea, like I'm worried about something, and I'm just constantly worried about it. It won't go away. So what do we do about that? And I think if that's, is that kind of where you're at? I'm trying to feel it out a little bit.
Yeah, I think I've seen Rag Attack lately talking about dying himself, and it seems kind of like negative, unfortunately. Talking about killing himself, and I think that's definitely something worth talking about, obviously. But I think Haley is not necessarily coming from that angle, because I think we have two different perspectives here, because it's two different people talking about it. And Haley, I don't know these people, like what's going through their head, but it seems like Haley is talking about, just the concept of death, thinking about it a lot, and not necessarily wanting people to die, but maybe being scared of it, or just kind of it comes to their mind a lot. Like you totally covered, and I think that you did a great job, by the way. And then the other one, I have seen Rakatek talk about kind of killing himself or something along those lines, and Haley being like, no, don't do it, and so on, which is good on Haley. But so I think that's kind of in sight as well, the concept of wanting to kill yourself as a part of the discussion.
Sure. So, I mean, we could talk about that too for me. I mean, it seemed like Haley's not, I mean, based on this particular question, that's right, sort of a different scope, but I mean, yeah, we could talk about that too. I mean, here's something, that, all life is sacred, right? Whether you want your life or you don't want your life. It was a gift, right? And that gift is for you to share with others, right? That's how we are happy, when we share our lives with other people. And ending our lives, first of all, doesn't make us happy, and it doesn't even end our suffering, right? And it really just snowballs, right? It doesn't, there's nothing, but your life was a gift, right? And it was given to you so that you can be a gift for other people, and so if you have somebody that you care about, the best thing you can do is be a gift for that person. Live for them, because they want you to live too, and they want you to be there, right? They want to be there for you, and they want you to be there for them. Don't ever forget that there is somebody out there who wants you, and I'm sure Ryan's got a lot more to say on this, but don't forget that you're wanted, and the best thing you can do is be there for somebody else.
Yeah. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. And I think you said something really, really insightful just now about your life is not only just a gift in general, since, we didn't ask for life. We didn't earn it. We didn't deserve it. We didn't do anything. We just got it. But you said your life is also a gift for others. Because honestly, that is usually what makes us happy, is when we use our lives as gifts, because that's more true to what it is in the first place. If we use them as a gift for other people, that lifts up the people around us, and then that also lifts us up. But on top of that, then if you take your life away, you're taking away a gift from other people. Imagine if you saw somebody who got a like a gift of any sort, maybe like a computer game or something like that, whatever it is, doesn't really matter, some kind of gift, and then you took that away from them. I mean, obviously that would be wrong, but it's also not very nice, and that doesn't make them happy, and that doesn't make you happy. It might make you feel terrible about yourself. It might make you feel pleasure for a moment, but then that's all gone, because then you feel guilty. And so similarly with, suicide or taking your own life or dying, taking the easy way out, some people might say, you're taking away something that is a gift, something you have to offer to other people, and you're choosing not to give it to them. And instead you're taking it for yourself and you're throwing it away. It's like having, like someone next to you and they're hungry, and then you have a whole like carton of cookies or something. I don't know why a carton of cookies, whatever. You have a whole package of cookies. And yes, I carry my cookies in a carton. Be quiet. No, you have a whole package of cookies. And then the person next to you is starving, and you're like, well, I don't really want these cookies. I'll just throw them away. And the person next to you is like, I could have had those cookies. You're like, nah, I'm just gonna pour like gasoline all over them and light them on fire. Now no one can have them. It's like, that's not very nice. And that's kind of what you do with your life. Your life is a gift for other people to enjoy as well. And I think, if you're not in communication with other people, spend time getting out there and talking to people. Obviously, we have the internet now. It's super easy to contact people, to get in touch with people. But obviously, also, real life experiences are oftentimes far more significant and intimate. So I encourage those as well. I think a lot of us are scared. We're scared to open up to other people around us. And so then we don't find the time to really kindle those relationships. And a lot of times we evaluate ourselves based on how other people see us. But if no one's seeing us besides ourselves, then we're going to feel like not very good. We're going to feel like crap. So, yeah. Anyways, this is a whole different subject than the original. On the original subject of just thinking about death, I think I completely agree with my brother, of course. If you, or with Broman here, Kyle Broman, who dis? So for you who don't know, Joe or CDVNL is currently on vacation. And so stepping in is Kyle Broman. Broman is my brother from the same mother. And yeah, so there you go. That's a quick introduction.
Same dad too, but
yeah, whatever. Yeah, same mother, same dad, but dad doesn't rhyme with brother. So
you call me bro dad.
Bro dad, that's right. He is also a dad though. He has children, and etc. But he's also a part of Black Static and Swerve. He does a lot of the research and finances and all of that kind of stuff, and knows a lot of times more about my own musical equipment than I do, which is awesome, and totally cool with me, because then I don't have to do research on it, and he just, it's like, yeah, this is what it is, this is what it costs, this is what I'll buy it, and then you'll have it. And I'm like, cool, I get something and I can use it. So it works out pretty nicely. He's awesome, and his heart is in the right place. So
that's hilarious, Master Lay. Okay, real quick, I want to jump back in. It looks like Rack Attack and Haley have both chimed in here, and there's not any sort of suicidal. It's all just an obsession with, I'm afraid somebody's going to die, and I want to be, and I'm not looking forward to that, whether it's me dying or somebody else dying. I don't get to see them ever again.
Sure.
I think that's what I'm.
Cool. And I appreciate you looking at that. And yeah, I totally understand that. We all have things that we think about a lot. And what you obsess your mind around about, like what you think about is what you'll think more about. If you, like, anybody who's ever thought about anything knows this. Anything ever. Okay. So like if you're playing a video game, right, and you get really into it, though, like if you spend a whole day playing a video game, you're going to spend at least half of the next day thinking about the video game that you played. And if you go home and play it again the next day, you're going to continue thinking about it for at least half a day or like a quarter of the day. So that's the way things go. So if you're thinking about death a lot, then it's going to cause you to think about death more. And then thinking about it more is going to cause you to think about it more. And so how do you get out of that cycle if you even need to? I think one of the things that you can do is find a, what's the word? Revelation of sorts, if you will. A lot of times, like if I watched a very psychological show or anime, and it makes me think, right? And it makes me kind of like step away from the show, and it makes me think like, okay, if that happened in real life, like what would I do? And all of this kind of stuff. And then and as soon as I'm able to, like usually it's on my mind, it's just kind of pressing, and I just keep on thinking about the subject at hand. But as soon as I find something that teaches me a lesson, or it becomes a discovery, then my mind is put at ease, and I've taken something out of the situation, out of this. I'm able to remove myself from the thought cycle, because no longer is my mind stuck in a loop. It's progressed forward with something. So what I would suggest is to think about death as you are, and come to it's not really a revelation, but necessarily come to a sort of peace with it, or resolution. My mind is drawing a blank where this word should be. Sometimes that happens. But find something within the concept of death that your mind can settle on and say, oh, this is good. Like sometimes people are going through issues, and it hurts them a lot. But as soon as you find why you went through the issue, like where you grew because of the issue, like, oh, because I had this problem in my life, now I understand this situation better. and I can take something away from it, and I can move forward because of that bad thing. And so similarly with death, if you have something, that you look at and you think, oh, this is terrible, it's terrifying, it's scary, whatever, you don't want anybody to die, and you're worried about other people. If you can look at death from an angle that makes death more beautiful, and you can take something from it that's worth having and helps you and helps other people around you, then you can move forward with it. Excuse me. And so the things I would suggest is listen to what Kyle said earlier, if you want to go back and watch the video after we're done. But death is, now we talked about killing yourself earlier. That's different. That's separate from death, because the act of killing yourself is not necessarily the same as talking about the sensation of death, but or the issue of death. But that being said, if you understand everything in life, not everything in life. Okay, so life is beautiful. Not everything in life is beautiful, but life itself is beautiful. And likewise, a part of life is death. It is a reality that we all have to face at some point, and that doesn't make it a bad thing. Just because a lot of times we just look at something and we say, oh, that's bad, because we don't like it, or it takes something away. But sometimes taking something away makes life more full. Like if you take cigarettes away from somebody or something that's harming somebody, that helps them move forward. But also, if you look at something and say, this has a limited duration, like life only lasts so long, then it gives you more reason to live it, and carry out every day searching for ways to make life better, and with the time that you have, because you'd only have so much. And it's okay that we all die. I think it's important to kind of look at that issue and find your own resolve, find your own understanding of it that paints more of a more meaningful and a more positive image on death. And so, yeah, I would take time to kind of reflect about death and kind of think of that. But yeah, we all need opposition in all things. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, sometimes if you're religious, you can find a lot of good coming from death. But even if you aren't, you can still look at death and find the good, because in everything you have your opinion and you can say something is good or bad, but that doesn't change the reality of what it is. And so you can have an opinion that something is bad, and that can affect you negatively. Or you can have an opinion of something and say it's good, and that can affect you positively. Like some people don't like blankets, but say that person is cold and they're going to freeze to death. But they're like, no, I hate blankets. They're ugly and they're stupid. And that's my opinion, so I won't have one. And then they freeze to death and die. Well, that's their fault. And that's them being their opinion causing them harm. Or you can have an opinion that is of something good, right? You can say, oh, blankets are a beautiful thing. Then you could take it to the next extreme and say, blankets are life. And I always walk around with a blanket at all times, even if it hinders me. See, you have varying levels and you need a balance, right? And your opinion needs to be balanced, and so the same thing with the opinion of death. What is death? Think about it, and that's okay to think about it, and it's okay to worry about other people dying to prevent them from doing so. But I think to find a sense of peace in death is important for all of us, because death ultimately should result in peace. That's why we say rest in peace, right? When someone dies, rest in peace. And similarly, we have to take that on to ourselves, and be at peace and be okay with the fact that someone is no longer with you, at least for the time being, depending upon your religion. So, yeah. But anyways, yeah, ultimately what I would suggest is examining it yourself, taking time and reflecting on it and try to find the peace in it. Try to spin a positive opinion on it and come to a peace and say, you know, it's okay if people die. That happens, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, and I think I that's excellent. Everything Ryan said, take that and run. I couldn't really add a whole lot to it. I just want to jump back into something that you had said. You're just really worried about. I think Rack Attack, you had said what other people would feel like if you died, and these kinds of things. And I think that's a good reason, a good way to maybe get around that, or use that to fuel you is, I heard a talk one time. Someone was talking about looking at tombstones or gravestones, or not tombstones, gravestones, and you've got like a date
What's the
of
difference?
birth.
What's the difference between tombstone and
I don't
gravestone?
really. A tombstone would be like on a if someone was entombed, they'd be like in a
Oh, tombstone is for tombs.
yeah.
That's funny. That makes sense. All right, yeah, got it.
But anyway, I think that we use them for both. But anyway, so you have on there a beginning date, an end date, and then that thing in the middle. This little line is a dash, right? And this guy gave a talk and he called it the dash. And we have 2 dates, but what's actually important in someone's life is not those dates, right? It's that thing in the middle. Those dates are cool. They're good to know. It's really fun to celebrate our birthdays every year. But what's important is that thing in the middle. And I don't think it's so the best thing, I think, if we're really worried about death, the best thing we can do is to make that dash the best we possibly can. You're going to affect people when you leave. You're going to be affected when other people leave. There's no getting around that. The best thing we can do is give ourselves a reason to celebrate that dash. Be able to look back on that little, in between those 2 dates, the good times we had, so that we have something to celebrate instead of something to feel upset about. And then you can give other people a reason to celebrate your life too. If you're worried about what other people would think when you're gone, don't let that hold you back from getting into relationships, because you can help somebody so much that they're going to be so thankful. Think about like some of the people in our history that have shaped our world, and we look upon them as heroes, and we're able to celebrate their lives. I'm not saying everybody's going to be that famous and a hero, but you can be that hero to somebody, right? And yes, they'll be sad at first, right? Everybody is, but that's okay. It's a healthy sad. And then they'll be able to move on from that, because they won't be wondering, oh, I wish I could have got to know them better, or I wish I could have, not had that fight with them or whatever. If you just make that dash your best, that little spot in the middle, your best, then people will be able to look at your life and be happy that you are around and be happy for you.
Very well said. Cool. So let's move on. Akil, you are here, right? Thanks, by the way, both Haley and Rack Attack for talking about this issue with us. It's kind of like it's one of those issues that we all really should take time to think about on our own, and even talking with other people. So I'm glad that you guys brought it up, and thank you for doing so. So, Akil, yeah?
It's fine. So we're staying doing the questions on the, because we had a couple questions in chat too. So
we've got a couple questions in chat, and I'm wondering, has anybody been taking the liberty to write those down for us? I see that we've got Sophia, Princess. Yes, Princess has been writing them down inside the chat. Thank you so much, Princess. You are amazing. I really appreciate you doing that.
I know Gage had a question, and he was like trying to get it in first thing.
Yeah. I mean, we can, if Akil wants us to, we can go with Gage's first. I see that. But we also have 2 anonymous ones, and I think they're both here. I know that one is, and the other one, I'm sure they'll message me on Discord if they're listening right now. But there are 2 separate anonymous who have asked questions.
And then
Great to say You guys can do the backlog questions first. That's really nice. Okay. Okay, so yeah, okay, then we'll go with Akil's. As long as Akil, you are here, right? Yep. So let's see here. So Akil, you have a bit of a long one here. And it looks like you have written a poem along with it.
Wow. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, you know what? If you want to read this, that would be great. You got better reading skills than I. So.
This is going to take a minute, just so everybody's aware. Okay. In this age of distrust, we tend to look out for ourselves more than we could care for others. Who could blame us? With all the darkness being revealed, we saw more path to the ending, more suffering. They certainly aren't pleasing, certainly not appealing. These weren't shining, might not be worth reading, but these are something. Okay. Disguised monster was a mister, named from a sister, shamed as a sinner. He surpassed a brother, he surprised the other. Terror for his father's ear, ember for his mother's cheer. Been here to address a matter, in fear without answer. It's no longer news to us, but if faith was based on misplaced trust, then we can't last. This shiny metal will meet rust. Oh dear God, should we fear? Not. Who is here? God. Should we disappear? Not. Fear, fright, terror. Terror deeper than fear. Terror, blame my faith 'cause it's near. Terror, split our people while we are here. Terror should not last any longer. Speaking of terror, the word derived from it was why I am here. Terrorism, or as the French said, oh geez, terrorisme? I'm not really good on French. Sorry.
Princess got get us. That's all right. Go on.
Okay, then I think we're finally getting into the end of the question here. Okay, and forgive me on this too, I'm Akil Mukashim. I tried to fit in. My people mean you no harm. We just wanted to prove a point. But dear, some of us strayed too much. Those poor souls were manipulated by the ones they looked up to, the ones who were actually taking matters in their own hands for personal gain, the ones who thought the only right was theirs. Media's sure love to hate us now. There is still hope, though. I am here, am I not? I know that I'm not the only one left that wanted our reputation to get better. In fact, I hesitated when I wanted to use my people. Since we all had our purpose here, we are all human. We are family. We are different, yet so alike. While humans are naturally good, it is easy for it to be bad these days. I fear that the world is getting faster and turning against us. You have seen the worst of us. How about the rest? We are tired of being called the misguided by our own and the others, when in fact, we are living as we are guided to. Talk of faith does not need to be all aggressive. We'll prove that we aren't what you think we are. We can be here without spilling blood. We can be here after we sort out the lost ones. So please, don't be blinded by them now. Do not lose faith in us. We would not, too. You might fear us, but we are afraid too.
Wow. Kyle, you sound awesome when you read things.
I'm just having fun.
That's great.
But no, that's man, this is deep. Go ahead, Ryan. You got to listen.
Oh yeah, thanks for reading again. So Akil, exactly, if you could pinpoint for us, what exactly is your concern in all of this? I mean, there's much stated here. What I'm getting from it is that that we're human and we have a lot of distrust in the world. how do we fix this? And are you aiming at your particular culture / religion, or are you just saying humans in general? I guess that's one of my main questions here. And yeah, but I think, while I wait for your answer, kind of like, to what exactly your concern is, if you could spell it out in one sentence. We have a lot of mistrust in this world. And so how do you trust people? And why is it so important? A lot of times we say, oh, there's no point in trusting somebody because, they break your trust and then you get hurt. I think a lot of people live their lives like that. They're scared of other people. They know that other people can hurt them. So they never open up. They never allow themselves to be vulnerable. And and by doing that, they don't have any trust in other people. But then also a lot of times other people don't trust them. And so you end up living for yourself. And not really living for very many other people. I think when you live a life where you're focused on yourself, when you're worried about trusting people, etc., you generally aren't very happy. A lot of times in the world, we're searching for happiness. And that's really the main reason we do anything in life. The reason we have our opinions, the reason we have, the reason we take certain actions, the reason whether we trust other people or not, or whether we fight for ourselves or fight for other people, a lot of times it's simply because we think that's what's going to make us happy. Sometimes you see someone do something that you would consider really stupid, but they do it. And you're like, why did you do that? Well, the reason is generally because they thought it was going to make them happy. Although a lot of times we're very misguided because we don't really study what makes us happy. We just have an idea and run with it without really looking too much into it. But as for trust, I think, a lot of people have been betrayed. A lot of people put their trust in people who broke it. And then they come to a point where they just give up on the idea of trust. And it's very unfortunate because if you don't trust other people, a lot of times they won't trust you. In fact, the best way to gain other people's trust is to tell them you trust them. I remember when I was working at Taco Bell, people, you weren't allowed to let other people count your register down. So if you work on a register, you take money and you hand it out, whatever, you go back and forth with your customers. And at the end of the day, you count your money in the drawer to make sure all the transactions add up correctly. Other people aren't allowed to count that down. But a lot of times I just let other people do it because I just said to the face, like, hey, I trust you. You're not going to do anything, you're not going to mess up my drawer. If it's off, I'll, obviously I would assume that I messed up and not them. And because I did that, all of my drawers turned out fine. All of my registers turned out fine. And they felt like they could trust me because I told them I could trust them. People don't want to break trust. Generally, people don't want to break other people's trust because that's something valuable to them. They want to hold on to that. But if you don't have any trust in the first place, other people are not going to trust you. And then you can't really help other people and other people can't help you. In this world, doing everything alone is not very good. And you can't get very far on your own. In fact, most of everything in our lives is built on relationships and dealing with other people. In fact, that's how economy works in the first place, is a transaction of money from one person to another. So relationships are extremely important when you're trying to build yourself up and when you're trying to build other people up. So trust is extremely important. But how do you get to the point where you can start to trust other people again is a very difficult thing. I think you just have to have a leap of faith and decide to start doing it again, ultimately. And through that leap of faith, obviously you need forgiveness, a whole lot of that. Another important thing on relationships is that if you get into relationships and if you go like, hey, if this person never messes up, if this person never wrongs me or makes me feel bad or whatever, then the relationship is over. Well, then you're not going to have a very long relationship with that because no relationship is perfect and no relation comes without that kind of stuff. especially if you're going to say, I'm going to marry this person, but like if they say something that makes me angry, then we're done. Imagine that. That'll never work. And so similarly, you have to be giving, because the losses that you acquire through trust never add up to all that you gain through trust. You gain so much through trust that no matter how many times something bad happens because you trusted, it doesn't amount up to the good. But Akila, you've posted now, and it says, it's more on how to handle fear, blinding those around you. Okay. Yes, I am personally affected by things things others do in our name. Often they are not doing it on purpose too. I've taken BSS purpose to heart. But these times are hard when you associate with a certain faction, even when you try to promote peace. Okay. So
I'm
yeah.
trying to get context here a little bit. So I'm going to make an assumption, but it could be wrong. So correct me if I'm wrong. But based on what I'm reading, I assume you're referring to what's popular today in a lot of circles is to sort of talk badly or poorly about Muslims because there are some who have committed terrorist acts to prove something. They had their reasons, whatever they were, but then there's a lot of Muslims who disagreed that action should have been taken or necessary, but that sort of paints the whole group of people with that brush. Is that kind of what we're talking about? If you could just, that'd be, I think helpful. That's where we're going, but if not, let me know.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea that I'm getting here. And
I just want to make sure, because I don't want to assume, if that makes sense. I just want to kind of, but I guess, Ryan, if you want to continue while we wait for that,
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I was kind of getting the same idea. And of course, if we're wrong here, we apologize. Misplaced motivation is a dangerous thing. Oh, okay. What was I going to say? Yeah, if you are trying to refrain from saying Muslim or the like, saying where you're from and the bad reputation that it has, just know that we're not here to judge. It is not our place to judge your soul. And we know that you mean good. Akili, we've seen you from the start of our website way back before it ever got destroyed and then recreated. And Akil, we know you're awesome. We know that you take BSS message to heart and that you're an awesome guy. So, your religion, your word was faction, whatever, whatever it is, we're not here to look down on you. So if you're trying to avoid that because you don't want others to look down at you, just remember that you're in a pretty safe place here. But yeah. Okay. So how do you handle the fear blinding those around you? And that happens with everybody. I can give an example myself. I am Roman Catholic, and I live in the Western world, but no matter where you are in the world, unless you're from like Vatican, if you're Roman Catholic, as a religion, a lot of people are looking down on you. We've done poor things in the past, made bad decisions. Some things have blinded people, making them take something that was minor or something that never even happened, but then painting a giant picture on top of it, making it look even worse. So I think we all, no matter what religion or where we've come from in life, we've all dealt with the concept of reputation and stigmas that we don't deserve, that we didn't earn, that aren't right. They're a lot of times founded in lies or just misunderstandings. And yeah, they don't speak to who we are as a person. I think we've all dealt with that one way or another. And so it is a good question. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with people who rub that in your face or that sort of thing? Um, I think ultimately, kind of like one thing I was getting at before is forgiveness. And again, when I was talking about trust, this actually applies well because if you give other people the benefit of the doubt and you just love on them, that will show you their heart and change their minds about you. Um, and while you might not be able to change their mind about an entire faction or an entire religion or an entire set of people, you can change their mind a little bit about that group by saying, oh, well, I know one person in it who's not that bad. And then if they meet another person, by the time they meet three people, they're saying, oh, most people in that community aren't bad. It's just like, a couple, then they have the more honest and truthful view of the um, culture or whatever it is.
Well, the reality of the situation is, in any group of people, there's going to be bad eggs. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
You have in any group of people, if you have more than 5 people in a room, you're getting pretty close to being sure someone in there.
Someone that's going to do something bad.
People. It doesn't take much. Obviously that's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but I don't think it's unfortunate reality that we as humans see negative patterns where they don't exist, and we often fail to see positive patterns that do exist. Mm-hmm. And that's just part of being what a normal, a person is. It's just how our brains work. And the reason it's for a very, as far as I could tell, a very basic reason. It's a sort of a defense mechanism, right? We need to be aware of the bad things that could potentially harm us so that we could stay alive. And if things are good, we're not really going to focus on them a whole lot because it doesn't threaten our existence. Right? Unfortunately, some people decided to do some bad things in every single organization in existence. So you have people who are mad at like Walmart.
Except for BSS.
People who are mad at Walmart, for stuff that they may or may not have done. This is a grocery store. I mean, come on. You have people who get all up in arms about these guys. And I mean, it's just like, okay, it's a grocery store, right? Like they may have done some wrong things, but everybody does, right? Who's perfect? And so the best thing that, we can honestly do to try and fix that is just to be the best versions of ourselves that we can. Because when somebody, and don't go into a conversation with somebody saying, like if I, trying to change their mind, I'm not going in to change somebody's mind. I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to be, I always strive to get to be a better person. And somebody, hopefully, is probably, hopefully the theory is that I can be good enough that when somebody looks at me and finds out that I'm part of this religion, or I work at this particular place, or I'm part of this group, or maybe, I play this card game, whatever it is, that they can see me and say, oh, wait a minute, I was really wrong about these people, because here's some clear example of that not being the case. And that little bit of inconsistency in someone's brain will really flip that around. It doesn't take long for someone to see that inconsistency and say, wait a minute, I got to start thinking about this, because all I was doing was listening to what everybody else was saying, but that doesn't seem to be right. Now I can go in and actually think about it. And so I think that's kind of, just be the best person you can, and then let them find out that you're part of whatever faction or organization, that it is. And then they can, then they could see, and then they can see, that and all you could do is affect those around you, right? It's just going to be, yeah, I'm Kyle. Okay. Yeah, it's just going to be your friends. That's the only people, like, seriously, for anyone out there, all you're ever going to do, the best thing you can do is help your friends, because you have no control over anybody else. You don't even have control over your friends, but the only thing you can do is show them who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Your close relationships, develop close relationships with people, show them who you are, and then they'll see. That's all I think. That's all I can.
Yeah, and absolutely. Have self-confidence in yourself. When I have long hair, I'm sure you've noticed. And currently I have a long beard. I wish I didn't, but anyway.
Do you need a
hair. Do I need a what? Do
you need a razor or something? I could.
Yeah, you want to just come over here and you can just shave it off of me, like.
Yeah, all right. I'll see you guys in like 2 hours when I get there. All right.
Yeah, it's yeah, it'll be a while. Anyways, so I could share. I know I can. I have that ability. It's just that I don't have. I'm lazy. Anyways, so I have long hair, and where I'm from in Michigan, a lot of people look down on people who have long hair, because if you have long hair, you must either be a hippie or, like I just said, really lazy, or homeless, or just really bad at working any kind of job ever. Because you don't understand personal responsibility. You don't understand how to interact with people. Like, people think about you this way because you have long hair, right? But I have enough confidence in myself, because I know who I am, that if I go and talk to anybody and I show them who I am, if I show them my heart, if I show them that I like them and I love them and that I think good of them, I have all the confidence in the world that they will no longer think of me just as some long hair bimbo, right? Bimbo. And no, as some long hair, like, they're assuming things about me just because I have long hair. But as soon as I talk to them, I don't have to worry about that, because I know that I'm a human and I can affect them in a good way, just by talking to them. So have self-confidence in yourself. When you talk to somebody, remember you have an effect on them. And if you show them your heart, that your heart is in the right place, they can't deny that. And you can make a friend in an instant. Really, like, you can make a friend so fast, and you have all the skills required. Akil, I've talked to you before. You are good at talking to people. So again, just like my brother said, just like I was saying before, just be your best. And then let other people judge as they judge. You can't affect it, but you can affect the core group of people that you talk to. And so that's really all you can do. Inspire greatness in others, and let that inspire greatness in more and more and more until it affects the whole world. That's really all you can do. But yeah. So how do you deal with it? You just say, whatever, all that stuff, it's all lies or whatever it is, or maybe it's truth, but I can't change it. So it does me no good to worry about it. All I can do is be my best either way. So don't let that bother you. And in fact, one thing you can open up with is, I am of this, whatever it is. Like, if you tell people, like, if you get to know people and you start to see signs of them liking you or whatever, then you can open up with, hey, I'm actually from this faction. And then even say on top of that, like, I know a lot of people think that we're like evil and stuff because of this and this and this, but trust me, we're not. There's bad eggs in there's bad apples everywhere, no matter what religion you go into or whatever. Giving that disclaimer puts everybody at ease, because one, you've opened up, and two, you've given the disclaimer, and it's just so relatable to everybody. Say, well, we've all, no matter what group we're part of, we have these bad apples, right? So just being honest about the situation really calms people down and really makes them feel like you're being human and relatable and a friend. So don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about the stigma with others, because that's relatable. because everybody has some sort of stigma, especially if they're involved in any kind of religion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And really, everybody's afraid. As long as we're talking about fear,
Mm-hmm.
I don't, most people are afraid in more situations than you think. So the best thing to do, I mean, realize that if you're afraid, probably the other person's afraid too. In every single situation. I mean, silly example, but I've been on both sides of interviewing people for jobs, and I've watched other people interview other people. Sat in the middle, watching both sides, and it's like usually like you're going to interview for something and you just feel really afraid, or but the person who's actually on the other side is like really scared too. It's really funny to watch. Like before the interview, the person who's about to ask all the questions is like, oh, I hope I do this. It's interesting, but generally, you're not the only one who's afraid. So ease their fear, show them that you're not a big deal, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
that way they're not afraid, so they don't have to make you afraid. If they don't fear you, you don't have to fear them. Same, so.
Yeah. Well, thanks, bro.
Okay.
We can move on to the next one. And actually, it looks like Anna is here. Anna, did we ever cover the question that you asked, which was posted in October 17th? It was, I think I'm a good musician, or a good growing musician, and I love to recreate or create music. And I always wanted to share the music I play with people I don't know, but recently I discovered that I'm terrified of sharing anything music related now. Did we ever address this? I don't think we did. We didn't. Okay, perfect. Well, I'll continue reading then. By the way, Akil, I hope that we answered your question and it helps. Because I like Kyle said, everybody's afraid. But just opening up and being honest with that really helps other people calm down. So yeah, hopefully some of that will come to help you. But anyways, moving back to the question. You said, to continue, the reason why I'm starting to lack confidence as a musician is because my guitar instructor in school this year makes me feel like I'm not good enough to be playing. I had a private guitar lesson with him once because I wanted him to listen and give me feedback on a classical music piece he gave to me to play. I play the whole song with correct notes, rhythm, and fluency, and even without the sheet music because I memorized it. But my guitar instructor got angry at me because I didn't bar any strings on the guitar, nor did I know what the barring symbol was on the sheet music. I apologized to him for not knowing, and when I asked him how the correct way to play the piece went, he yelled at me, saying that I should already know how to do that since I am an upperclassman. He also told me in that lesson that I should be as good as the other guitar players in my class. And I feel so bad that I really am not as good as my classmates. I left that private lesson smiling, and I tried to keep it, but I had a mini breakdown and cried once I entered class. My guitar classmates told me that I shouldn't listen to what he said to me, but it's hard not to. I want to become a better musician and share music, but the truth is, it's hard to accomplish that when the only music instructor who is supposed to make you a better musician doesn't believe in you. Any advice on what I should do? Awesome. Thank you for that. And
Wow.
just for clarification, my brother is a musician. You might say he's not, but he is. He played clarinet through middle school and high school, and he was pretty much the best in his class. So anyways, I'll let you handle this, bro.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts, and I'm gonna try to be nice to this music instructor. But I mean, honestly, if it's at all possible, find somebody else to take lessons from, because this guy or girl doesn't sound like they're very helpful. I mean, so I'm trying to be nice. Here's the thing. If you're trying to give, if you're going to be a teacher and you're going to try and give somebody lessons, the goal should be to make somebody better, right? And there's a couple ways to go about doing that. This person sounds like they're just coming out of military boot camp thinking they should yell at everybody into submission. And you know, trying to like maybe going for trying to break you so that they can run all over you. That's not a good culture. You know, I think if it's possible, find a different person to take lessons from, because in reality, I mean, a teacher or an instructor should be able to see you where you are at and help you, even if you're starting day one, if you've been, you know, all the way up, you know, whatever. I mean, there's no, okay, so the teacher can't change. Does the school only have the one teacher that does guitar? Is that the, or you just don't have a choice? They kind of put you with a teacher.
Yeah, attending a school specialized in performing arts, they might only have one teacher that specializes in this particular instrument. It could even be.
I mean, if you don't have a choice, then I mean, it seems to me he's not interested in actually teaching you, which is unfortunate. He just wants the results without actually going through the effort. Okay, so it's your, okay. So based on, okay, so it's your only choice. So here's, you know, if you, you know, this is interesting. So in school, when I was I played clarinet, and Ryan had said, and I was okay. There were a couple people who were upperclassmen that were, well, one person in particular was a grade level above me, and he was a lot better than me. He really was. But for some reason, he always felt threatened by me. It felt like he just didn't like that I was good enough to be close to his skill level. For whatever reason, I don't know if he was afraid I was going to take his position, you know, take his chair or take the solos from him or what. But for some reason, he was, which was silly because he was way better than I was, like really. But for some reason, he was afraid of it. I felt like, because he would always make comments like, oh, you know, this guy, he's always trying to play stuff he can't handle. And, you know, but that's part of learning, right? You have to play things that are challenging in order to get better. If you just play easy stuff all the time, the best you can do is improve your tone, but you're not going to improve any other technique as far as on clarinet goes, generally speaking. I mean, obviously there's different, you know, but at any rate, you know, this is the kind of situation where someone doesn't want you to get, didn't want me to get better. He wanted, you know, so his whole thing was criticize with the expectation that that would keep me down, right? So in response, you know, what do you do when someone's doing that? And it's even worse when it's an instructor, right? Because here's someone that should be helping you, but they're kind of keeping you down. It's very likely that if you came in and memorized this stuff, that they were just not sure if they could teach you, because you're already beyond what they were trying to teach. So they came up with one little thing to nitpick to try and bring you down. And this is a sign, this is more a sign of somebody who is not really confident in themselves. So what I would do, if it was me, I would practice more. I'd find somebody else to teach me what this particular technique is. One of the other students who apparently already knows, just ask them. It'll be a little bit weird maybe, but say, hey, can you show me this? I'm really confused. It's not a big deal. Most people will be happy that you came to them. They're not going to think you're weird or that, you're stupid. What they're going to think is, wow, this person really wants, thinks that I'm good enough to ask for help. That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool.
So they're going to feel good about helping you. And then they're going to get better at it because they're helping you. And then you actually get to learn from some, I think that'd be the way to go. Find a classmate who's willing to help you learn that specific technique. And then on your own, get so good at it, that your instructor can't even handle it. Just become the best possible player you can, regardless of what the instructor says. You can self-teach yourself if you're dedicated to be, way better than they expect. I mean, look at Ryan right here, right? He didn't really have any formal piano or singing education, right? But he outsings most of them out there, and he outplays a lot of them. So, just do your best to be better in spite of them. Maybe use that as fuel. Say, maybe I'll show you. Kind of a thing. I don't know what your personality is, if that'll work for you. If that'll work for you, where you just kind of take that as fuel, maybe that, righteous sort of anger where you're just going to prove them wrong, that you're good anyways, or maybe just, just find a, if you're not like that, then do your best. What I would do is find a classmate who can help you, and then go back in with that instructor and show them that you've learned it, and see what their reaction is, see what their response is. And it might just be that they're one of these guys that just thinks this is military boot camp, and that's just how they teach. They teach by yelling. They don't really mean anything by it. Because I've had bosses like that. They just come out the gate yelling. And 5 minutes later, they forgot that they were even angry because it wasn't a big deal. That's just how they talk, right? So, and if that's the case, then now right? That he's just going to yell and it's not a big deal and whatever. So,
yeah. Cool. Anything else?
No, that's how I guess that's.
Yeah, that's great. I don't really have much to add on top of that. Based on everything that I read here, it seems to me either now I'm not him. I can't correctly. I haven't been in the same room as him. I haven't seen his body language. I haven't listened to how he talks all the time. Based on this one example, which isn't really enough to go off of, it sounds to me like when you asked if he could play it, he was unsure of himself, and because he was unsure of himself, because he knew he couldn't sight read it, because he's probably maybe he never played the piece before or whatever. Maybe he felt like he needed to do something in order for you to drop it, so that he wouldn't have to play it. That's what it seems like to me. And because of that, he reacted in the way he did, and it caused him to be very cruel to you and force you out, feeling bad and sad and unsure of yourself. And that's terrible. So don't give in to that. It seems to me like that's what happened here. He didn't, he's supposed to be the instructor. He's the one that's supposed to know it all. And so his pride kind of led him down the road of, oh, shoot, I don't know how to do this one. And then yell at you so that he doesn't have to play it. Or the other thing is, I've had quite a few band directors in my age. And some of them are just the type of personality where they, like Kyle said, they think they can get you going if they yell at you. Sometimes that works for some people. If they, some people, if you tell them they can't do something, that makes them go, oh, I'll show you. And then they get better. But most people don't work like that. Only some people work like that. Most people, if you yell at them and tell them that they can't do it, they're like, they're either like, wow, maybe I can't. Or they're like, you don't know anything, stop being a jerk. And then they don't try any harder. They're just like, wow, that person's a mean person. So there's many ways you can take it, but it might be his personality. It might be the way that he was taught. And it might also just be that he was afraid of playing the piece in front of you. It could be any of those options. I don't want to assume that he's a bad person. I'm sure he has good in his heart, and he's a band director because he wants to help people. But maybe he struggles at helping people because he's not quite well learned in how to deal with people yet.
Yeah,
it's
she
like
just
he
it's like
insults all of
insults
his students though when he teaches. Okay.
Yeah. So that's, there's about probably 10% of people in the world are like that. That's just how they communicate. It sounds to me, maybe that's the situation. It's not an intended to be an insult. It's like, to them, they're a hammer and everything is a nail.
That's a well-made statement. Yes.
And so, it's just how their personality, and they just don't necessarily know they need to work on that. So one thing, sometimes with these people, you can just, with guys with this personality, or you can kind of to pull them aside and say, hey, look, that that really wasn't, but they probably will just yell at you again because they don't really understand it. So I think your best thing to do is great hammer, Princess. The best thing to do is just ignore the best you can. That's just his personality. He doesn't mean anything by it, as far as I could. I've had bosses like that, and yeah, they'll forget in 5 minutes that even happened. It's it sounds silly, and it's kind of hard to ignore that kind of stuff. It really is. Someone yelling in your face, and how to not react in the moment and freak out, and I mean, I've had coworkers crying and leaving work because of people yelling at them before, and then the boss is like, I don't understand why they're crying. I'm just like, really?
Really?
What do you mean?
You don't remember everything you just said?
You just like tore them apart. It's like, I did. It's like, yeah. So it's
it's their personality. Yeah.
It's just it's probably not intentional. Just I would, but because there's a personality clash, see if a student can show you that, and then go back to them. Yeah, and then go back to them, and just if you have to do another private lesson or whatever, then just have that fixed so that he doesn't have that to yell at about, and then he'll yell at you about something else, and then you'll know, though, right? That's just how he wants to teach, and then you just don't try not to worry about it. Really, it's just. Don't lack confidence in yourself, though. I mean, if you're going to that school, and it's that kind of a place, and dedicated, you have no reason to lack confidence, especially if you're sitting here memorizing pieces. I can remember in school. Seriously. I mean, there was only about 3 or 4 of us that were memorizing stuff. Everybody else was. So you're really in the elite if you're able to sort of memorize, and so you're already on your way there. You don't need to feel like you're lacking, and you're good. So you probably know your mistakes. Like, the better you are, the more you see where you're lacking. And they did a study one time. They asked people if they were good at math, and then gave them a math test. And the people who said they were great at math failed the test, and the people who said they were okay, they might be okay, they're not awesome, but they're okay. All those people that said that, they aced the test. So the fact that you can see, that you might have some improvement is actually a good sign, right? That actually means you're good. Right. So understand that. Yes, you could see improvement, but don't beat yourself up for that. Just work at it, work at what needs to be done, put in the time. All it is with, honestly, music, as far as I've been able to figure, it's just time.
Just time.
time with
yeah.
time with the instrument, time hanging out with other good musicians. So
Time, yeah, time studying and spending time doing different things with the instrument, learning from other
so
things around you. Yep, all this time.
but you probably, I mean, you know that though. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't be where you are. So, just
Yeah,
keep doing what you're doing. And now there's this one thing that you didn't really know what it was yet. So go figure it out because they'll just make you even more awesome.
yeah.
So there you go.
But yeah, perfect. I'll tell you, like, some a lot of instructors that are music instructors, they think they have to be really strict. And you have to be strict when you're with yourself, is the honest truth. They're strict because they want you to be strict on yourself. But the unfortunate line is people don't know where to draw the line between strict and just being mean. You can be strict without being a jerk. But a lot of teachers don't know where that line draws. But I think, like my brother said, I think what you need to do then is just understand this is his personality. Give him the benefit of the doubt. Pretend he's not being a jerk and just listen to the lesson he's trying to teach. Don't listen to the impersonal, unkind, really weird methods. Just listen to, oh, he said this and this. Okay, that's all I need to take out of it. I don't need to listen to, you guys are crap. You guys don't know what you're doing. Throw all that stuff out the window. Just only listen to the fact that, like, oh, he said one thing during this like 7-minute yell that was important. That's all you need to take away then.
Mm-hmm.
Just take away what you can and deal with passing everything off that he says that seems mean, because he probably doesn't even notice that he's doing that. Because a lot of people, they don't want to be mean. They just accidentally are. So you got to try to just give people the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. So good luck, Anna.
Yeah, good luck. Hopefully that you can get used to him and he can get used to you and you'll be all set.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool. Hey Jesse, when did we start this stream? If you can tell me.
It's like 8 o'clock, pretty much.
Okay, cool. So we have time for more. Oh, we'll do one or two more depending on how long they take.
So okay.
What's that?
So we had, I don't know if we want to talk about Bree's question, Bree the kitty. I imagine that's Bree.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really long, crazy thing.
Let's see here. So we have 2 anonymous questions. Gage, Sophia, and Bree.
Yeah.
And Bree's is still, I think it's finished. It was a long one, wasn't it? Bree, I love you. You come to almost all of these, and so I really appreciate that.
I mean, I guess it's whatever. I mean, you usually, I mean, that's my first time here. So if you want to just keep going through the other questions, we can do that, or.
Bree, I think we'll probably be able to get to yours next time for sure, because we're getting caught up on the list now. And honestly, I know one of these anonymous has been waiting for like 2 weeks.
Okay.
And the other one has been waiting actually not that long, but okay. Okay.
All right, let's go for it.
All right, Bree. I love you. Bree. Okay. So this is the family member. This one was, this is the long one.
Do you want me to read it, or do you want to read it?
I'll read it. Okay. This is why I think it's difficult to forgive. So the topic is the family member. Okay, so this is why I think it's difficult to forgive my family. The word it is my brother. I hate it. I have saved it from going to the hospital and maybe dying, but because I saved it from that, I nearly died, and instead of it going to save me, it just looked at me. I remember its face. I hate that it has been hitting me ever since I can remember, and it nearly never got in trouble. It now has asked for forgiveness, but it still hits me, but not daily. I can't forgive it. If you have noticed, I call him it instead of him. I can't look at it as a human. In my opinion, it is a monster. It recently was in trouble, but the only thing is, I was disappointed because I have gotten worse than what it did to me. By Anonymous. Hopefully I fixed that up correctly. They had me correct some of the wording because they aren't English isn't their native language. So hopefully I did that justice. But anyways.
I don't understand the last phrase.
Okay, so their brother got in trouble, but they were disappointed because they received worse from their brother than the brother got in.
So, okay. So the brother didn't get sort of a
like if I got a beating and then
punishment that was equivalent to the crime.
Yes, okay. A punishment that was equivalent to the crime. Yes, precisely.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, got it.
And they add, and he was more sad. Hold on, I think they're continuing. He was more sad than Anonymous was.
Okay. Okay, so, all right.
So would you like to take this one?
If you want me to, but it's going to be rambly until I collect my thoughts. Would you like to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I get it. I do that sometimes too, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So.
Well, I guess if we're either one of us is just going to be rambling for a minute,
Yeah. Who do you want to hear? Who do you guys want to hear ramble? Me or the?
Yeah, let's vote on it.
Yeah, everybody. No, waste some more time with it. You can collect your thoughts.
Here I'll waste time with this. I don't know if you guys saw this cup.
Ooh. You guys ever seen that cup before? Criminal Idol. Beautiful. You guys want one? Go buy one. Redbubble.com.
Yeah, so we got a Redbubble store. We're going to be putting it on the forum here soon with an announcement, but look out for that because we have some stuff there. We got Rose shirt design on there. We got this going on and some more stuff soon to come. So actually, there's the link right there.
Yep.
Go check it out. I don't know. I would, don't check it out now though, or go check it out now. But
yeah, feel free to check it out. Buy whatever you want because if we change anything, then you get a limited edition, I guess. But usually, if we're changing something, it's because we think that we have a way to make it look better. So we haven't completely put it out there for to everybody, but you guys can totally go there and buy stuff.
Yeah,
you like the way it looks, go for it.
Okay, so on to this question.
Yep. So
this is tough. So here's the thing about family. You don't get to pick them.
That's true.
That's just something we're handed. And unfortunately, sometimes they can be real so-and-sos. And
not fake so-and-sos, real ones.
No, real so-and-sos, and I mean, like, it's hard for me to answer this question in a way that might make sense to you. I hope this makes sense. But in life, we are given a lot of challenges and a lot of struggles. And those things are meant for us to be opportunities to grow and to understand the purpose of our life. and to bring us closer to those who have suffered for us, to give us what we have. When we have struggles in life, we can either choose to let them affect us negatively or take that experience and use it to better ourselves and to draw us closer to those who have suffered before us. And what I mean by that is this: those who are always good at everything and never struggle don't really know what it means to win, right? They don't really know what it's worth to be good at something because they just are. So they don't appreciate it, and they don't appreciate the gifts they have. And they're generally miserable people because they just don't understand how good life is and what it's about. People who struggle can appreciate what has been given to them, what people have done for them to give them the life and the freedom that they have. And those struggles allow us to appreciate life better than someone who hasn't struggled. And I know that probably doesn't help now, and it's tough. But there are people who have given their lives for you. You might not know who they are. They might have done it, for their country, or they may have done it, or it could be your parents, or it could be your grandparents. I mean, I don't know. But most people come from a family who was at one point extremely poor and had some ridiculous things to go through back in the old world. Famines, these kinds of things.
Most people were peasants at one point.
Peasants, slaves, whatever. And they struggled. And all of that struggle happened so that you could be here. And through your struggle, you can learn the value of what they gave for you. And so I know it's tough and it's hard to understand while you're going through it, because it's hard. But try to use the struggle to unite yourself with those who have gone before you. In that way, it doesn't have to be such a bad thing. It's terrible right now, but it doesn't have to be the purpose, right? The purpose of the struggle isn't, oh, I'm struggling, right? I'm feeling bad now. The purpose is you get to really understand and know what it means to not, or to actually have something good happen to you, right? To accept gifts from other people when like they've struggled to get enough money or whatever it is, or they've struggled through whatever they're dealing with to spend time with you, or to get you something, or to even, like whatever. They've done that for you. Whether you know it or not, it's happened for you. And you can do that for other people, right? So you can take this struggle and you can look at those other people who've struggled, and you can use that and use their strength as your own so that you can get through it. Because you can be that for somebody else. You can be the one who also goes through the struggles to give life and purpose for somebody else. So I hope that helps. As far as the relationship with this particular person, like I said, we can't choose family. We do the best we can, but just know, it's hard. You say it's hard to forgive family, and yeah, in this situation, it would be very hard, but most people don't do things intentionally to be mean. They just don't understand what they're doing. And if this person is coming to apologize and it's hard to forgive, I understand. But there's a difference between forgiveness and forgetting. They always say forgive and forget, right? But that's not a really accurate, good way to go about things. Sometimes we should, we definitely need to forgive people. I mean, it'll make your life easier because you won't have to hold a grudge, right? You won't have to be that person holding on to that, because if you don't forgive someone, it just hurts you because you're the one who has to hold on to that. They've done their part if they've asked for forgiveness as far as they're concerned. So they don't have to feel bad anymore, even if they continue, I mean, they should feel bad if they're still continuing to hit you and stuff. But like, I mean, they probably aren't feeling it as bad as you are because you're, if you haven't forgiven them, that's eating you. Failing to forgive someone only hurts you. It does not hurt them. Right? So it's hard, but you don't have to forget, right? Just because we forgive someone doesn't mean their action is okay. Right? It doesn't mean they don't have to make up for it. It's like, if I mean, this is a really silly, trivial example, right? But if one of my kids is throwing food around at dinner or something, right? I'm gonna have them stop, obviously. And they're gonna get in trouble. But if they apologize for it, I'm gonna forgive them because it's just food, right? Why not? But that doesn't mean they don't have to pick it up. They still have to go and clean up their mess. Even though they're forgiven, they're still cleaning it up. So it's the same thing. You can forgive, but then give them the opportunity to make it up to you. Because through the opportunity for them to make it up, that's where they're going to learn and where they're going to have the opportunity to become a better person. Don't hurt yourself more because they've hurt you. Yeah. I hope that made sense. I don't make a whole lot of sense sometimes.
I thought that made sense. That was great.
And I hope it helps. So
I don't really have a whole lot more to add onto that. That was perfect. But yeah, as you said, you don't really get to pick who your family is. Sometimes you get stuck with good people, sometimes you don't. And all you have control over is yourself. And so, yeah, it can be really hard to forgive people. One thing that you might be able to do to forgive, just to clear your head, because as Kyle said, and as Joe has said before, to not forgive someone, to hold on and have a grudge, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick, right? Because when you're holding on to that unforgiveness, when you're holding on to that, all of those memories of them, all the things they did, which aren't right and they aren't made okay because you forgive them. But if you hold on to that, then you have this sickness within you. Every time you think about that person, it makes you feel bad. Every time you, do anything, those thoughts can come to your head, and it's those thoughts aren't happy thoughts. They're thoughts that make you feel like poop, and you don't like that. No one likes that. And we all want to be happy, and we all want to be at peace. But both of those things are extremely rare in our current world. Or really at any age throughout world history. And that's because we're human, and forgiveness is hard for most people. And not only do we have to forgive others, but then we also sometimes have to forgive ourselves. And that can be even harder at times. But so how do you forgive? How do you learn to forgive? How do you end up just being able to let it go so that it doesn't hurt you inside anymore, even though you know what they did was wrong, and you can learn from that. Like, I'll never do that to somebody. At least you learn that, you know. But you can learn and take way more. And I really like what you were saying earlier, Kyle, about suffering and recalling all of the other people that have suffered before you, so that you can have what you have today, and joining them in that, giving to the generations that will come beyond you. We have so much of that in our history. If you really look at it, there's been so much suffering, but that's not like, oh, life is terrible. It's more like, wow, life is amazing and beautiful. I'm brought to think of not too long ago in Poland. There was there was a large political situation going on in the government where they were not allowing anybody to get married. Marry was seen as an act against the government, and so they would kill you if you decided you wanted to get married. And so then there was a priest who said, well, like, they wanted to fight that. I think this was in Poland. I hope I'm correct on that. They wanted to fight that, so they were marrying people behind the scenes, in basically little hideouts and so on, because people still wanted to get married. That's still a beautiful thing. And through their efforts, they were able to unite people and draw people into marriage, and they were willing to put their life on the line for that. And a lot of times we look at marriage nowadays and think a marriage is just some silly thing, like, some kind of government institution where people get their taxes deferred because of it, and that's really all we look at it. But apparently there was someone who thought it was worth dying for. And they weren't even trying to get married themselves. They were a priest, which means they'll never get married. They were just trying to get it for other people. And so, that's suffering. And those people had to pay the price for that, just so that they could have the idea of marriage in their land. So, that's beautiful. We don't look at that and say, oh man, yeah, I mean, geez, we should all just die because, wow, humanity is terrible. It's like, no, that was worth protecting. That's something that's worth protecting. Life is worth protecting. We have things in our life that are worth protecting and worth suffering for. And we look at those things and we say, wow, that person, they suffered a lot for that. They did a lot in order to have, so that other people can have the freedom of this or that. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. And you can learn to take the suffering that you have and just take it as that and say, it's suffering. It stinks, but one day in the future, this will be an advantage. Like when you play a video game, your character receives damage. It goes through trials, and through the trials, they level up. They get stronger. They get experience points, and then etc. And life is similar. You go through experiences and you get experience. And generally those who are put through the harder regiments get the most experience. And they can do with those points, those experience points, what they will. Some people take those experience points and they put it all into, now I know how to be really good at complaining. And I would suggest that attribute isn't worth putting experience points into. There are other attributes you can put into, like, now I know how to be a good swordsman, as opposed to, wow, I don't know how to put up all these monsters hitting me over and over. I'll just sit here and complain until someone else helps me. Expecting others to help you in that environment is not going to get you very far. But that's relating it to a video game. I know that this person plays video games. So anyways, but you can relate that to your own life. You have an ability to grow. So how do you take what they did and you just forgive them? You know that they'll probably do it again. So how do you put confidence in forgiving them when you know that they'll probably do it again? Those are great questions. Forgiveness is a talent. It is a talent. What I mean that it's a lot like music. It's a lot like math. It's a lot like playing video games. It's something you get better at after doing. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. The more time you spend doing it, the more time you have people wrong you and you forgive them, the easier it is to let off all of the trivial things. When something comes, like something bad happens, you're the first one to go like, oh, well. And everyone else is looking at you like, how can you just say, oh, well, we just crashed our car into something? And you're like, whatever, it's no big deal. We'll figure it out. Like, how can you not freak out right now? I've been through worse. Or I've brushed off so many things before, and I've learned that that's honestly what gets me the farthest. Because in life, that is what gets you the farthest. Being able to take this situation that just happened and it being terrible and being like, it's whatever. Let's focus on what we can do next and move ahead. And especially that's the case in relationships, when your relationships clash and they collide and they break apart. Being able to swipe it away and swipe through all the emotion and all of that pain and just being able to say, okay, what do I do to fix this? That's what moves you forward. So how do you get better at forgiving? How do you learn how to forgive your brother? You try. And the more you do that, you might not be able to forgive your brother yet. You might not be able to. But maybe you can. Try. Go back to the memories and say, I forgive you. And if that doesn't work, like replay those memories in your mind, not to hurt yourself, but replay those memories in your mind. Think about those situations and say, put yourself back in that place and say, I forgive you. And I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry that filled you with guilt. And I'm sorry that I had to put up with that. And I mean, there's sorrow there, and that's okay. And I forgive you. It's not going to make me hate you anymore. And if that doesn't work, then do it with other things. And the more you do with other things, the better you'll get at forgiving. And at some point, you might be able to forgive them. In fact, I'm sure you will. And I won't even say might. I promise you, if you learn to forgive other things first, eventually you will build up your ability to forgive, this talent, this virtue. If you can start small, you can eventually work your way up. And so look at those things that are easy to forgive. Those things that you might be holding on to that are easy to forgive, that maybe it's not your brother, but other people have done it to you. Maybe I've done something to you that I need forgiveness for. Even if they haven't asked for forgiveness, think about those things and just say, I forgive you. I won't hold on to that anymore. It's whatever. It was in the past. It means nothing to me now. It's like, whatever. I'd rather just move on. Take all of those things that are small and work from there. Start with those. And at some point, maybe after doing that, try your brother again. And if that still doesn't work, give it a rest, come back the next day, maybe whatever. The next time you need to forgive someone, think about like, oh, geez, they just slapped me in the face. I'm so mad right now. But I could forgive them. If you can, do it. Because that will build your forgiveness up and your virtue in that category. And eventually, someday, you'll be able to forgive your brother. That's my advice. I wish you the best.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Very good.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. I think we have time maybe for one more.
Yeah, you want me to just read the next one up on the list? This other anonymous one.
Sure. Yeah. The other
Okay. Yeah,
anonymous.
that was a great question, by the way. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
They've
Absolutely.
all been great questions, but okay. So, okay, when everything falls apart, this is another anonymous. Um, what to do in a what to do in a situation when real life issues press against you too hard? A major part of words headed towards you feels like insults or salt to the wound, and you feel like you're no longer on your own side. You know, when everything crumbles part by part and you can't do anything but blame, insult, hurt yourself, cry, and comfort yourself with short lived lies, which, once broken down, make you feel even worse.
Hmm. Um, so yeah, it seems like you're kind of like, an emotional breakdown almost. When that happens, what do you do? Um, what do you do when everything is just too much? Um, and everything you tell yourself, you think about more. The more you think about it, you're like, well, that's actually, that's a lie, or I can't rely on that, you know. And you just feel like you're in this place of darkness, surrounded by darkness, and there's no way out. Yeah, that sounds really tough, and I feel for you. That's definitely not a good place to be, and it's really hard because um, sometimes when we get put into those situations, we end up clinging to that darkness. We get to this point where it's like, well, I don't even want to try anymore, or um, you know, the more darkness you see, the more darkness you see. The more you notice the darkness, the more darkness you see, and you get to this point where you can't really even have faith in the light. You can't even think of good things and put your faith in them. Um, so yeah, that happens. I think that happens to almost all of us at some point in our life. Um, and so, how do you press through that? Um, I guess there's a lot of different things I could say here. Um, one main thing is to try to focus on the light. Try to focus on those things that you know are good. Um, you might have those things that are short-lived lies or something like that. When you comfort yourself, you think of something. It's to hold yourself together, but if you examine it further, it's like, oh, that doesn't hold. Um, Try to understand that that's true for all the dark things too. Um, anything that's innately evil, or whatever, it is not going to stand on its own. It eventually crumbles. Um, I mean, you can see that throughout history. If you really examine history, you can see where the evils are, and you can see that they cave in on themselves always. Um, and then it, and then kind of things have to start over for civilizations that go those routes. Um, and they cause a lot of pain to everybody who's in the scenario, but that's regardless. But remember that evil doesn't stand on its own. It can't, or evil doesn't stand forever. There's always, this too shall pass, and it does. At some point, a new situations arise, and old situations pass, and things get better. Sometimes things get worse, but either way, you're human and you're valuable. You're infinitely valuable. Um, and you should never let what's going on around you affect how you feel about yourself. A lot of times we treat ourselves and we talk to ourselves and examine ourselves and view ourselves based on what's going on around us, around the outside world, what other people think, what other people say, or what we assume they're thinking and saying, or how things have been, how people have treated us, etc., whatever. Um, those things can't tell you, and they can't define you. They can't tell you who you are. They can't define you. They can't speak of your value as a human being. They won't tell you what things you will do in the future or how valuable the things you've done in the past are. A lot of times you never know all the things that you've done in the past and how they echo and change the course of history because you said one thing to a person and they relied on those words. Or whatever it is, we have great impact on this world. And I mean, humans are incredible, absolutely incredible. So don't let whatever is going on around you change how you feel about yourself. Always try to remember that even if life is hard, it's a gift and it's beautiful. But the more you pay attention to the bad, the more the bad will stand out. The more you pay attention to the evil, the more that evil will stand out. But the same is true for what is good and what is holy, what is beautiful. The more you pay attention, the more you look online. If you look up like beautiful things that you think are pretty, and you start looking up those things online or whatever, you'll start to notice them in your daily life as well. If, for example, you're driving and you've recently learned a lot about cows, this is a weird example, but if you've recently learned a lot about cows through like some kind of anime you are watching or whatever it is, when you're driving, you might notice a cow and it will stand out to you and you'll be like, whoa, there's a cow there. And then you'll be like, you'll have an emotional impact with that. Your immediate response is like, oh yeah, cows are cool. Cause I remember that anime that was, the cow saved that girl's life or something, whatever it is. Right. Or if the cow did something bad, you're like, oh man, cows, I hate cows. Whatever it is, right? But you have an emotional reaction immediately as soon as you see a cow, even though like normally if you hadn't watched the anime that had that cow in it or whatever, you wouldn't even notice the cow. You might have seen the cow, but it wouldn't have fazed you. Now that's true for everything in life. The more you pay attention to the bad stuff, the more credit you give over who you are, the more power you give it over who you are. It's important to remember, just because we don't like the way something feels doesn't mean it's bad. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but you get to choose whether you think something is good or bad. It's an opinion. It's different from evil and holy, I suppose. So it's not really opinions, but when something is good or bad, a lot of times we don't like the way it feels, but that doesn't mean we have to hate it. We can still see the good in it. So when the world is crumbling around you, remember that perception is crucial, and that you need to be able to remember that you can decide how you perceive the world. Because I know you've probably heard me say this before, but how you see the world is how you'll feel living inside of it. So if you think the world is crap, you're going to feel like crap. But if you think the world is beautiful, you're going to feel beautiful. If you think the world is excellent, it's incredible. If you look at people and say, wow, that person is a genius, and that person is a genius, they thought of something I never even thought about before. Like if you think of is people as geniuses, and everybody's a genius, then you start to assume that about yourself and you say, well, I'm a genius too. And that's okay to think that about yourself. That's not unhumble. Humility is an appropriate understanding of human value. Humility has nothing to do with insulting yourself. So it's okay to understand that, wow, I'm a human being and I have the ability to control things. Like, whoa, I can lift this cup up. I've got powers. I can do it with my hands. I control my body. Whoa, this whole physical thing that I am, I get to move it and I get to use it to think about stuff. And I get to manipulate the world around me and make ideas up that didn't exist before. It's awesome. So when you're in this situation where you feel like you can do nothing, you feel helpless, and everything's just going downhill, try to remove yourself from the situation and try to remind yourself that those things, they might make you feel bad, but they don't get to decide how you feel ultimately. Because you can take a step back and say, this feels bad, but life is not bad. And this isn't necessarily bad because this is a struggle, and struggles result in something good. And when you feel like this, it's important to take a step back and say, should I feel this way? Because I don't have to. I don't have to feel this way. Should I feel this way? And then you can say, yes. Sometimes it's good to say yes to that question, but you can also say no. And if you say no, what you need to do is act like you mean no. So if someone insults you, if someone comes to your face and says something really mean, you can say, do I need to feel upset right now? Or is it better if I just laugh what he said off? Or if I don't, like someone insults you, you say, do I want to feel bad or do I want to not feel bad? Easy question. No, I'd rather not feel bad right now. That'd be nice. You know, it's more comfortable to feel not bad than it is to feel bad. So I'd rather just feel not bad. So then the next action is, since we've confirmed that, and now that we've thought about that and we've confirmed it, the next thing you do is you act like it. You act like it didn't make you feel bad. Because your actions will then confirm your thoughts. That's always true. If you have a thought and you take action on it, it will reaffirm your thought. If you say, oh, I'm not angry, and then you say, like, if someone insults you and you say, I don't need to be angry, even though you are actually angry inside, you say, I'm not going to act on that. I'm going to laugh with them and make up a joke that goes with what they insulted me on. So I'm going to say something like, they called me fat. Okay, so yeah, it's so true, man. I am so fat that when I like sit around the house, I sit around the house and they'll laugh, right? And you will have a good time, maybe, but they will have a good time. You'll make them laugh and that will make you laugh and that'll be funny. That changes your attitude. See, what you did is you had an emotional response, but then you rejected it and you did something that was not based on the emotional response. And then you changed your attitude because of your actual physical response that then reshapes your emotional response. So what do you do? Ultimately, what do you do when you are in the situation that you're in, that you're talking about, where everything breaks down and everything falls apart? You act like the best version of yourself. You act like you mean well for yourself. If you go to your room, it's okay to cry sometimes, right? It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel sorrow. That happens. But if you go to your room, don't just sit there and suffer, thinking about how bad everything is and constantly nailing that hammer into your brain. That nailing that, hammering that nail into your brain, right? You don't need to replay those bad thoughts and say, oh yeah, that was bad. And then replay it again and say, oh yeah, that's bad. And replay it again and say, oh yeah, that's bad. That's not going to do you good. What you need to do is you need to take action against that. Do something that makes you think the opposite. If you can't think the opposite just by thinking, then do something. And that doing will cause you to think something. So yeah, what you need to do in those situations, go exercise. Go talk to somebody. Go do something productive. Go do something that adds value to your life. Do something that adds value to somebody else's life. Take care of other people. Concentrate on other people, and then you don't have to concentrate on yourself so much. These things will help you move your brain forward, because otherwise it'll get stuck in this spiral of destruction. So yeah, hopefully that helps and that covers it to the best of my ability. And I'll see what Kyle has to say. The rest up to him.
Yeah, well, that was pretty fantastic. I can't add a whole lot. I just wanted to make one comment on part of this question, talking about comforting yourself with short-lived lies um, that make you feel worse when you figure out they were lies. Um, Seems to me humans are notorious at believing their own lies.
That's true.
And the biggest lie that I see in this question is that this anonymous person seems to think they're not worth anything at all. They're not worth a good attitude. The only thing they can do is insult themselves and feel bad about it. Don't believe that lie. Because you're not junk. You're just not. None of us are. Don't believe that lie. You're not junk. You don't have to hurt yourself. That's all I got.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to get carried away when your thoughts are just kind of doing that spiral, that downward spiral. But so much is based on perception, but there are truths in this world that are absolute. And we know that. I think a lot of times we like to try to argue those away, but virtues are virtues. They're good. And I mean, like, there are things that we tell ourselves that are lies. I think in our current age there are a lot of lies about human reflection or human value that we need to get figured out. Spend time reflecting. And it's good that you reflect. It's good that you talk to yourself. Keep that up. That's a very valuable thing. A lot of people don't do that now in this age because you're so distracted, easily distracted. Everybody, I don't mean you, but everybody is so distracted by technology and everything like that. It's hard to really spend time with yourself and reflect. And when they have the opportunity, people don't want to. People don't like themselves. So continue spending time with yourself. It's good. It's healthy. But when you do, remember that you are building a relationship. You are your own friend or you are your own enemy. You are a human, and therefore you have relationship even with yourself. And so treat yourself like a friend. Build yourself up. You wouldn't say the things you are saying to your friend or to someone you're trying to help. So make sure you say that. Make sure you say those things that build you up to you, or else you aren't going to like you, and that's not going to be good for you. So treat yourself like a good friend, and that'll help you a lot. So yeah. Anyways, thank you all for joining us today. That is all the time we have for the day, but luckily we got through a lot of the backlog that we had on the questions. Obviously, we've recorded the questions in the forums for you, so next time you show up, we can totally talk on them. Gage, Sophia, and Bree. So next time, this will be next Friday, Joe will not be here. He'll still be away. But Joe will be
right,
here.
but Joe will be here.
But Joe will be here. So Joe won't be here, but Joe will be. So you'll understand what I mean next Friday if you want to come and join us. And you'll probably understand what I meant by that, but maybe you already know. Yeah. Anyways, thank you all for joining us. We love you.
And hi, Kayla. Sorry, didn't want to interrupt Ryan's talking.
Oh, yeah.
But hi, and Thanks for the welcome.
This has been the Seawold family. This has been Ryan and Kyle, my brothers, and we've enjoyed our time with you today. We hope that everything we've said has been helpful, or at least something to steer you in the right direction, steer your thoughts in the right direction to figure it out for yourself. You know, a lot of times what we say isn't really going to make the change. We just hope to encourage you to think some certain ideas and go off of those, and ultimately you make the change yourself. You know, because all we can do is just kind of talk. We don't get to take action for you. So, but we're really happy that we can. So, yeah, how'd you enjoy your how'd you feel doing this, Kyle?
You know, it was a great, interesting experience. I don't necessarily feel qualified to be sitting here, but
you did amazing.
I don't
None of
know.
us are qualified, so
You know, I don't know that, you know, I don't know that I was very helpful or not, but I just hope that I have been, and I look forward to doing this again sometime. I had a good time, and hopefully it was valuable. So
fair enough. Thanks, guys. Kyle's overqualified. Yeah, Kyle's a better individual. Anyways, thank you guys once again, and we will be off and see you guys next Friday or Wednesday or whatever you guys show up. And we love you. So bye-bye.